AI, 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 AI.
I found the AI really useful.
AI, generative AI. AI, Vertex AI.
And that's the power of generative AI.
AI, train AI toolkit, AI, generative AI, generative AI.
AI.
Welcome to GCP Life, episode number 65 for the 24th of May 2024. GCP Life is sponsored by Mantle Group. At Mantle Group, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. And I'm your host, Stephen Bancroft. On today's show, what news from Google I/O and Sydney Google Summit? The federal government spends up big on IT projects. We have the usual plethora of security breaches and ransomware. Is Gemini 1.5 Pro all that it's cracked up to be in the AI wars? Plus, we have a little bit of sad news. But before we get to any of that, I'd like to introduce the co-hosts of the show, Dmitry Pokidov. How you going, Jimmy?
Hey, Steve. Good. How are you doing?
Good, mate. Good. And our additional co-host today, Adish Panther. How are you going, Adish?
Yeah, good, thanks. Steve, how are you?
Good, excellent. Good to have you on board. We'll get to why you're here shortly, but how's everyone's fortnight been?
Yeah, been all right. The weather
Any tech adventures?
The weather wasn't too bad. I'm still actually playing with all these image models, image generation, looking at where it got. So it's been very interesting.
So that'd be Imagen 2 still. I think 3 is coming soon. Is that right?
Yeah. They released Imagen 3, but it's still it's not in the Vertex AI studio yet. So
right,
but I'm checking every day.
Gotta get it.
Yeah, that's right.
What about you, Adish? You been up to anything?
This is the part where, I've listened to your show where you guys talk about your tech adventures, right? I was actually on a physical tech adventure last week because I was at Google Summit Sydney. That was the highlight of my week other than a day-to-day client work.
Excellent. All right, we'll get on to Google Summit a bit later in the show when we cover the community news. Can't wait to hear about that. But personally, me, I've not done a lot as far as tech adventures go. You know what I did do over the weekend? I remember back in the day when we used to watch that old digital free-to-air TV. Remember that?
Been a long time ago.
I'm too young for that.
Yeah, I know. Well, the house here has got an antenna. Remember those? And it should all work, and it just wasn't working. So I went through the process of tracing the wires out and changing I took the amplifier off the antenna on the roof, and it was full of spider webs and cobwebs and spiders, and it was all rusted out. I changed that out and changed a bit of cabling, and lo and behold, I now have free-to-air TV from the antenna.
Okay.
That was my little tech adventure. And I did this for a very good reason because the Central Coast Mariners are in the final of the A-League and I want to watch it on the weekend. And if you've ever used, I don't know why, but the Channel 10 Play app, the picture quality on that, at least on Samsung TVs, is woeful. Free-to-air terrestrial TV it is. It looks much better.
Congratulations.
Yes, I got it working, so that was a bit of fun and games. Outside of that, just the usual, mucking around with VMware and GCVE.
How's your X? All intact?
Actually, I walked past one of the servers the other day, and it was screaming its head off. The fans were going flat out, and all the lights on the front were orange. I didn't investigate it. I just turned it off, came back a couple of days later, turned it back on, and it was fine. So I hope there's not going to be a problem there in the future.
Always working with the codes that are right. You just, if it doesn't work first time, you just try again later.
Excellent strategy. And do you come back a week later and look at the code you've written and go, I've got no idea?
Yeah, that's right.
That's exactly what I do.
But you try it anyway,
You try it anyway. I don't know how this works, but it works. Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
I hear you've got that digital driver's license down there.
Yeah, that's right. That was another highlight. It actually was so straightforward. So if you have this Service Victoria app, you just go there, like tap add the driver license, put your a driver license number, and it just appears there straight away. It's pretty cool. It's like a generating kind of that short-lived, QR code that you can then present if needed. I think it just works for a minute, which is, I think, amazing.
If you want to
right?
sign in or something, yeah.
So as soon as we will have digital driver licenses only source, I think it would be good. So
QR codes, eh?
Yeah.
QR codes, that was a technology that no one had a use for a long time.
Yeah.
And then suddenly COVID brought them to the fore, and now we've got purposes for it.
I mean, that's right, yeah.
If you go to, your Indias and Sri Lankas and Bangladesh's, QR codes used for everything. It's used for payments all across the country. I was traveling to India.
Now?
So I was traveling to India earlier in the year, and everything is through QR code because it's cheap for everyone. You just have a paper and you do payments through that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got them on your table and you order your meal and everything, right? But for a long time, when were they invented? Like mid 2000, 2005, something like that?
Mm. So, yeah.
There was no purpose for it. It was like a technology without a purpose. It was a weird thing.
Yeah. But, Victoria's digital ID, about damn time, I'd say. Hey, thank you. We've had that for years in New South Wales.
No, yeah, that's right. It's been a hot topic on the show, edition.
Long story short, I'm going camping tomorrow. I'm not taking my wallet.
Oh, finally. Yay!
So, yeah.
You don't need it. Unless you need your Medicare card.
I got it in the Medicare app.
Got it in the Medicare. Yeah, okay. Yeah, have I got that set up? I think I got that set up. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
My driver license, my fishing license, so they're both in my phone. I don't need the wallet anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. While we're on the subject of all things digital, the Digital ID Bill has been passed in Parliament. Now, this is good because what it sets the groundwork for is a digital ID system which allows providers and services to apply to the government system and get access to digital ID, so they don't have to store PII on their own systems. And this bill passing releases some funding for it, and we'll get to a bunch of funding stuff later. And what it does say is that after no more than 2 years, so let's put a time frame on that, accredited private businesses will be able to apply to join the Australian government digital ID system. This is good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So instead of collecting all this information, there will be just one source of it.
One source of truth, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And while we're on the subject, I'm still going through the process and cleaning up my my Bitwarden vault because there's a lot of reused passwords and a lot of exposed passwords and a lot of this and that and whatever in there. I'm getting there, slowly getting there, but it's a big job if you've ever tried to do that. Yeah,
well, I'm like, at some point I gave up to have a number of unread messages to 0 in Gmail. So now I just don't care. Bitwarden is getting pretty much very, very close. Yeah, second to Gmail.
But the other thing that surprised me is going through this, everyone seems to have a different process for changing your password. Some require a multi-factor auth to do it. Some don't. Some require the old password to be entered. Some don't. And some just simply don't have a change password process. You just have to do the request forgotten password process. And what's even more frightening is the number of websites and organizations that don't have a delete account option. So the problem with that obviously is they're hanging on to all that information that I put in there, and I need to request my information to be removed by some other obscure method, like an email or whatever, social media tweet or whatever. I mean, it's, we've got pretty strong anti-spam laws. It should be regulation that it should be easy to delete your PII. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. It would be good to have similar to GDPR, like laws around this, similar to Europe. I think that like a deleting of account and all of like your information is part of the GDPR. So if you want to provide service in Europe, then you have to have the way of deleting the account. Though some of the services would say like send us an email or something, and we delete, which is all right, I guess.
It's a company's way to protect their gold, right? Data is the gold of this modern world. I'm not agreeing with it, but that's what companies do. They're protecting their assets. They don't want to lose any of our data.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. They want to hang on to that, and why make it easy for that to be deleted, right? They're not incentivized.
It's like when I want to cancel a subscription, it takes me 2 extra minutes to figure out how to cancel. But when I want to sign up for something, it takes like 10 seconds.
Oh, it's easy. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there was this thing like one annoying like newsletter or something, and I tried to unsubscribe from it like maybe 3 or 4 times by now, and like every time I hit unsubscribe, it's asking me for the bloody like that answer to the secret phrase that I put when I was signing up.
It's not supposed to do that.
Well, yeah, it's usually this unsubscribe link, right? It's uniquely generated to your email, and like all the normal services will just unsubscribe you straight away. It's also asking like login and password, but then they're also asking like the answer to the secret question. It's like,
yeah. Which you have no idea.
Yeah, I don't.
What it was. Yeah. I've got a way to get around that, and I'm not going to say it on air because it just means I'm going to be compromised. But I've got a hack to like make sure I always get that correct.
Yeah. But no, yeah, that digital ID is good. Yeah, looking forward to it. I think it's a big step forward.
Absolutely. Now, Adish, while we've got you here. And it is your first time on the show. I think we'll make the announcement now. What do you reckon, guys? Dimmy, short and sweet, Dimmy. It's been short and sweet, but you sadly are moving on. You're finishing up with Mantle Group, and so I'm kicking you out of the podcast. No, I like to try and keep people on the show related to Mantle Group, so you're moving on, and sadly will no longer be the co-host.
Yeah, sad news. I was actually enjoying our fortnight, get together, recording the podcast. Yeah, that's been a highlight of lately. But it's been 5 years. It's been 5 amazing years at Mantle Group, and I thought it's time for a change.
Excellent. Well, I did think you were part of the furniture when I asked you to join the show. So I was expecting a little longer out of you, Dimmy. But no, it's been great. The time you've been here has been fantastic.
So cool. It might all be you because you said it's a curse, yeah. Like like as soon as you get someone as a co-host, then they're leaving Mantle Group shortly.
Well, it seems to be the way, unfortunately. Let's hope Adish doesn't fall foul of the curse.
I'm the cursed one now.
So, Adish, yes, you will be taking over as the co-host. Very, very much looking forward to it. I guess I don't know, what's your angle, Adish? You're a software guy, right?
Yeah, software guy through and through. Did a software engineering degree at uni. And then, started doing more and more into infrastructure lately. Obviously don't have the networking expertise and know-how that you have, Banky, but more from a software engineering perspective.
No, it's nice. It's good to have a bit of variety on the show. And because it is your first episode, tradition has it, you have to bring us a horror story. And it could be something about yourself. It could be something about one of your co-workers. It could be something you've heard. I did prime you up on this one, and I hope you got something good for us. Yeah.
So probably in my early grad days, software guys care about software, want to build something, get it working. Something like this wasn't a prod environment, thankfully, but this was as close to prod as you can get. This was like pre-prod environment in a very regulated environment, in a very regulated company. So, what I was trying to do just wasn't working. And this wasn't, your cloud. This was an on-prem server that I was trying to get something working on. And then, there's just something not working with my program. It was permissions that I wasn't getting the right permissions with my code, etc. So I thought it was a great idea to do a chmod command at a root folder level and just change the permissions. My program worked. My program worked, but then we started getting alerts after alerts after alerts. It was a horror story for me because I think I really dented the confidence of my tech lead at that point on me for a little bit, because I just did something so stupid that, as a grad, you just don't think twice about doing those things.
Yeah. I've done that on my laptop, by the way.
Yeah, but this was a server with, shared workloads.
It's not good. Funny things start happening, and I tried to fix it, but no, it was just easier to rebuild it.
I think you showed good kind of quality of grit, and resilience. You made it working. So.
I only cared about my software, though.
Yeah. Well, that's what you've been tasked with, right?
Right. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, you don't want to do those chmods /r's from the root directory. It's a bad idea. Now, I did say it was your first time on the show, but we did interview you on the show. That's why the voice probably sounds familiar to everyone. It's back in episode 20. I had to look it up just then. Back in episode 28, we did a little interview with Adish just there in the office. And if you want to go and have a listen to that, go and have a little re-listen to episode 28. All right, I think that's enough of the banter for now. How about we get on with the community news?
Yeah, awesome, Steve. I think today's is from Melbourne. Yeah, GDG Melbourne I/O Extended May Meetup. Just happening on 29th of May. There's still 76 spots left, and already 114 people registered. It will be, surprise, in Mental Melbourne office. And so it will be like a recap of all from Google I/O. Really like 4 talks about cloud, Android, Flutter, and AI. Interestingly enough, AI goes last. So, and there are some familiar names there if you're from Melbourne. Should be really good. Really good meetup.
Yeah, get along to that meetup. I'll put a link in the show notes. Do we need to register up front to go to that? Yes, there's an attend. It's free to go to. And you just click the old attend button, and then it looks like it runs from 6 till 8:30, and then move to the pub. I think that's everyone's favourite bit at the end.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, that's an event that's coming up, but of course we did have, just in the fortnight gone by, we had Google I.O. and the Sydney Google Summit. Google I.O., stacks of stuff came out of the Google I.O., and we've got a bunch of stories and items that came out of Google I.O. later in the show. But Dimmy and I were scratching our heads during the week going, what are we going to do for Google Summit? Because neither of us made it to it. But Adish was actually at Google Summit at one of the booths. How did you find it, Adish?
Oh, it was great fun. Not partly because I was away from my client work. No, just kidding. So it was great because Mantle Group had a booth at Google Summit Sydney. So I was there manning the booth. I did manage to go to a few sessions, snuck out and let Troy handle the booth for a bit. Most of the announcements were just based on announcements from Google I.O. Extended, because Cloud Summit happened the day after Google I.O. Extended. So no new announcement that wasn't already presented in Google I.O. Extended. Had a lot of interactions with past colleagues, customers, and potential customers as well, which was great. Our old co-host Ian Brown was also around, so it was good catching up with him.
And a couple of other GDEs were there too, weren't they?
Yeah.
JK and Granny were there as well.
JK, Granny. So, had a lot of very interesting discussions around use cases for security, the security offerings of Software Delivery Shield, how that can be used. Had a lot of this interest on Gen AI, surprise, on how that can be used for business context. And also had lots of interest around Gemini for developers, on how that can be used to improve velocity. And most of the talks in the summit was also around how it was really cool to see how businesses have leveraged data, AI, and all of these tools to actually drive outcomes. Because we've been hearing Gen AI for a long time now, what I would say a long time, but it was actually good to see how this big enterprise has used a facet of Gen AI to drive their revenue or drive efficiencies. So that was my biggest takeaway.
All right, well, I think that's about it for the community news. Let's get on with the news items. Kicking things off with the news items, and this one did come out of Google I.O., and it's a piece of hardware. I love a good piece of hardware. Google Cloud unveils the Trillium TPU, its most powerful AI processor so far. Most powerful and energy-efficient tensor processing unit to date, the Trillium TPU. I'll link an article here to SiliconANGLE. They go into some of the details on the Trillium TPU. It is significantly more powerful than the last generation, which was the 5E generation of TPU, which I remember discussing on the show not that long ago, and talking about its performance over version 4. And this particular one, the Trillium TPU, delivers a 4.7 times increase in peak compute performance compared to TPU version 5E, 4.7 times. Which makes it the most powerful chip available at the moment. It also features twice as much high bandwidth memory capability and double the interconnect bandwidth. And this will significantly improve training time and serving latency for large language models. All important. In addition, it has a new thing on it called the Sparse Core, which is a specialized accelerator for processing ultra-large embeddings found in advanced AI ranking and recommendation systems. This all sounds good. And of course, it's more energy efficient. We've discussed this on the show before. There's been if you look at global energy consumption, it's basically stayed static for like the last 100 years. And that's because, yes, we are using more energy, but those things are getting more efficient. And so the ramp has stayed even, but in the last sort of 5 years, there's this sudden uptick, and that's basically because of data centers and primarily because of AI. So these new chips are way more energy efficient, 67%, which means lower running costs and smaller carbon footprint than the TPV5E. They're due to launch later this year. Pretty aggressive with this, aren't they? And they'll also have the ability to scale to more than 256 TPUs in a single high bandwidth, low latency pod. They can sort of group them together in a single pod. This is going to turn it up to 11. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's I don't know. Every time you read through those numbers, multi-petabit per second data center network, and yeah,
it's mind-boggling, isn't it? It really is.
yeah. I sometimes wish to just have a peek into those data centers. I used to work in the data centers, for big telcos with a mainframes and stuff, and even then, those server rooms that they were that could go underwater for 2 hours and something like that, and fireproof, and it's been quite interesting. But I can't even imagine what this would look like.
I know, and special protocols to get in and get out and all this. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, pretty cool. I also looked up that the first generation of TPU been released in 2017. So this Trillium is a 6th generation. So it's pretty much generation per year. So every year there is a new TPU, which is good. And as you mentioned, every TPU is every next generation is more and more energy efficient, which is hopefully will burn our planet slower. So
that's right. But X times more powerful, right? Every time 4.5 point, whatever times more powerful.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling how they keep squeezing and squeezing and squeezing more out of the silicon.
Yeah, I wonder how that is it a Moore law or
Moore's law? Yeah,
Moore's law. Yeah, is it still relevant with all this?
Well, what was it? It's a doubling of compute power every 18 months. I think we saw when Intel silicon hit sort of the mid 3 gig, like 3.5 gig. They were commercial CPUs. Obviously, people were overclocking them to 4 gig, 5 gig, whatever. But commercially, you could get them like 3.2, maybe 3.5. I think that Moore's law topped out around there. But what started to happen, we started to see improvements in other areas in compute, storage, I/O, and networking, and all those other things. And that sort of and bus speed, that was another thing. That sort of compensated for the lack of raw
power
flops. Yeah, raw flops that compute. So it's other areas now where we're making gains. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on. Now, Dimmy, you brought a couple of items here to the show. Firebase, and Firebase. What have we got here?
Yeah, there is on Cloud.io again. There was a new introduction of Firebase app hosting. So it's all around. I don't know if anyone here touched any front end development as of lately. I did. Maybe unfortunately. But you would be amazed how complicated it is, like with all the server-side rendering and so it's not enough just to run some JavaScript in your browser, even though the JavaScript is so complicated. And now there is a server-side rendering and then all these routers and stuff. So that and if back in the days we would use jQuery, but then like you would use React. But nowadays, like even like React is not really it's not too low level of abstraction, I would say. So usually, if you start any like commercial project, you would just go straight into some higher level frameworks like Next.js, for example, or Angular. And then so this Firebase hosting is basically easy way of deploying those applications to Google Cloud. It supports currently Next.js and Angular, and it's easy as to deploy. So you just there is a integration with the GitHub. You're just connecting your GitHub account. You point it to your repository, then it will just recognize what framework you're using, and it will spin up all the infrastructure required for it, like including CDN and front, any load balancers if you need it. For server-side rendering, it will spin up Cloud Runs and like all the things, and you can like centrally manage it from the console, which is awesome. I think that's a very big step forward, because like literally, if you're a poor front-end developer that wants to develop single page application, now you also need to know what is serverless is, how to deploy your server-side rendering, like CDN and like load balancers and like all of those things that are adding up. So I think that the complexity was I guess growing tremendously. So there's like it's having solutions such Firebase app hosting really helps in that space. So then that's been announced at Google I/O.
From a developer perspective, if I can get my front end code deployed with minimal understanding of all of that, and I can just focus on my code, then that's great, right? Like I can just focus on code, write on that, and let Firebase handle all of the other stuff.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I think there was a bit of evolution as well through those platforms. I know there was like I think a very first of this was something like an App Engine that was like so popular back in the days, because how easy it was like to pretty much deploy the full-fledged web app and ship it. And then it was all scaling and stuff, but it's always kind of a unique way of doing things. So you would have your own manifests and like things like servers and I don't know, like what they were like queues and other things. They would be kind of like hidden behind the scene. Whereas this is a bit kind of like creating a front end for existing tech. Like you got all this Cloud CDN, load balancers, Cloud Run, like Google Cloud Storage and all those things. So this is pretty much just a front end. And if you still want to, you can go and, customize it all. So I kind of feel it's really good for developers when they don't have, let's say, a lot of support, which could be the case for like things like proof of concept or low level environments. And as they progress through those, then they can also start getting more support from like the DevOps team and do like a more detailed configuration, tweaking stuff. Yeah.
That proof of concept, that twigged with me, because this would be perfect for that. If you wanted to proof of concept something, and then once you've shown that, then you can move it into a full infrastructure build after that point, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think
100%.
Point.
Yeah, rapid development when I'm trying things out. Right, I don't want to wait days to set up my infrastructure. I've got an idea. I want to figure out if that's feasible, both technically from a business perspective. That shouldn't take days. That should take hours. Right.
And so how does this, the next item you've got here, Dimmy, is Firestore Event Arc?
Firestore is a database, NoSQL database that has collections and documents. So you could think what you can compare it to. But the strength of the Firestore was always that you can actually the idea of it is that you can access it from like an end user, so you don't necessarily need to go over the backend, but you rather, if you have, let's say, your mobile app or you have your web app, you can go directly to the database and get data, which is awesome. So it's, I think it's very popular, amongst the Android developers, and many web apps are using it as well. Which is also cool. It's like it integrates with authentication. So it's using that Firestore Firebase. You can easily set up like a user authentication flow and then storing that, let's say, user configuration data in that database. So anyway, and then on the other hand, we got this Event Arc, which is Google Cloud ways of connecting things. So it's pretty much event. When you build like anything using event-driven architecture, when you have some events produced by the source, and then you want to kick things off, like using the target, and so you got the event, and you might want to run one or several workloads based on those events. That Firestore support was added into Event Arc. So if when there is any changes happening in the database, you can then kick off your workloads like Cloud Run services and things. So you can connect within your GCP project. Firestore events, and just gives you more, I guess, flexibility when
gives you an extra trigger, like an extra option for
the provider. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's take a look at FinOps Hub. This looked cool.
Yeah, FinOps Hub. It's been around for a while. It's just now it went GA, which is great. I'm actually, even for my personal projects, and we also got like all the internal projects here at Mental. I think that things like FinOps Hub, where you can get the recommendations on your whole billing account broken down by your projects. It's a great thing. So if you go to your billing account, then on the left there is a new item called FinOps Hub. And when you go there, it pretty much shows you, it gives you like recommendations of how you can save money using things like committed use discounts and using the right instances, types of instances, and so on. But what also good, it kind of gives you a score that you can improve on. And there is a peer benchmark, which is great, I think. And not sure how they measure it. So that's kind of like, and then you can pretty much just click on any of the recommendations and just go and save money, which is amazing.
We want to save money.
The key thing to note out here with the peer benchmarks is actually Google uses customer data for your data, but you can opt out of that. So if you don't want those peer benchmarks and you don't want to send your spending data to Google, you can opt out of that as well.
It's anonymized data though, right? We anonymize.
Yeah, absolutely. But you may still not want to do that, right? It's an opt-out option.
Okay.
Okay. Didn't know that. That's cool. That's good.
The only reason I know is because when this was actually announced in last year's Google Next, and I was actually in the room when this was announced and released, and this was a big talking point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I did notice, I obviously you need to have access to the billing account to see this, because I went and had a look at some projects where I'm not the billing account owner and I wasn't able to see it. So I'm going to have to go to my personal accounts and have a look at this now.
Mm. Yeah.
You need billing account admin.
Billing account admin, that's right.
Or I think project owner should also have billing account information now.
No, I couldn't see it being a project owner.
Yeah, I think it's linked to your billing account, not to the project. Yeah,
but what you can see from a project perspective is now they've changed. You can send project level billing alerts without actually being a billing admin. You can do that through a project owner role.
Nice. Mm. So you can take action on some of those straight away if you're the project owner. You don't need to go through this extra hop. Yeah.
It's that shared responsibility model, right? Where Google probably wants each teams who own the projects to take that responsibility rather than having a centralized billing team that does everything.
All right. Well, let's move on. Speaking of the cost of things, Australian federal government recently released their budget, 2024-25 budget, and they listed a bunch of IT projects where some of the money is going to be spent. Now, I'll link this article in the show notes. You can go through the big list yourself. Quite a number there and quite some big monies that are being spent, but a couple of call-outs that I thought were interesting. 580 million over 4 years for the MyGov platform to be improved. That sorely needs that. 288 million for the adoption of digital ID, which we talked about earlier in the show. 206 million over 4 years to improve data capability and cybersecurity, which is also sorely needed. We see that quite, a lot of breaches happening lately. We'll get onto a few a bit later. And then a couple of the smaller ones I thought were interesting. Nearly 40 million over 5 years to support the adoption and use of AI technology in a safe and responsible manner. And 37 million over 4 years in anti-scam funding, which is sorely needed as well. What do you guys think of this list?
Okay, yeah, a very interesting list. Some of the really, really low ones that I found interesting was spending $2 million for mobile and internet connectivity along the train route. And you might find this one useful if you ever catch the train, Banky, between Hornsby, Wyong and North Sydney.
Yes, that's my train route.
But I'm questioning why is the government spending? Wouldn't that be a telco responsibility to provide internet along those lines?
Well, look, I think the telcos, they've got different motivations, right? Like they've got a charter and a responsibility, but only up to a certain point, right? Now, if the government's responsibility should be towards the people. This is my opinion anyway. The government's responsibility should be towards the people, and the people, we want some internet. We want some decent internet along this route. So if it's going to motivate or help the telco to improve the internet connectivity along that train route, just to throw $2 million is a drop in the ocean, really. Then sure enough, yeah, do it,
Yeah. 2 million. Well, looking at this list, 2 million seems to be like really a minor thing. So, yeah. You were working in a big telco, Banky, before. Did you ask them to include it into this federal budget?
No, I didn't.
I was working in the same big telco, so that's what caused my interest.
Yeah, there is that on my train line when I'm going. Like there is 3 or 4 stations where like there is no internet either. I'm just wondering, would I call you to sort this out?
So this knowing the geography of this area, that particular route does have a few geographic challenges. There's a number of rivers and bridges, and it's quite bushy and there's a lot of hills and mountainous terrain that the train cuts through. So unless you have, you can put the base stations on the high peaks, but knowing that terrain, if you're coming close to that peak or under the base station, you're not going to get reception. So you're going to need probably smaller base stations at a closer to the track, along the track, so that you can constantly get reception. And that's probably what they need to do.
Maybe not use base stations, but probably something like small cells is what Telstra or
yes, that's right.
Optus or any of those telco provider uses to cover those grey or black zones is what the telco term is.
Dropout black zones, yeah.
I did my time at telco.
Yeah, I was about to say you guys are getting along well. Cool. And I guess another thing from there was linked to the next news item. 466.4 million in equity and loans to go to PsiQuantum to build a quantum computer in Queensland.
Yes, we love quantum computing here. Yeah. 490 mil to quantum computing being built by US-based startup.
Yeah, but seriously, I think two of the founders, right, from Australia. I guess many companies trading on in states, but might have roots from all over the world. Federal government joined with Queensland to invest 940 million in the quantum computer being built by a US-based startup called PsiQuantum, which is great. So we'll have our own Australian quantum computer.
Is it C-Quantum or Psi-Quantum? I was saying Psi-Quantum. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Psi-Quantum, of course.
Psi-Quantum claims to be able to build a hyperscale quantum computer that has a modular architecture and is cryogenically cooled.
Yeah, they're saying that, they have a plan to have a Brisbane Airport site operational by the end of 2027. So if you go near the Brisbane Airport, you probably would see the construction of the quantum computer.
Why the Brisbane Airport?
Yeah, that's I'm not sure, to be honest, but it says it's like strategically located site near Brisbane Airport.
Because I know with quantum computers, they need to have them. There needs to be a sort of physical separation because any vibrations that are induced into there can be a lot of errors, can introduce errors. This is why they have them suspended and like really cooled so that the qubits don't move around. I would have thought an airport, jets going past would not be the place you'd want to have it, right?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe logistically just to deliver things. I don't know. Yeah.
Possibly. Maybe they had some spare hangar space. They need to have all this cryogenics and all this stuff in place. So maybe it was just, a matter of real estate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I don't know. But that's great that we're kind of like on the edge here in Australia.
Yeah. If you want to get a quantum job, we looked at them the other week, you could probably get one there now.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. I need to go and update my CV.
Well, you will now. All right, let's move on. Let's move on with a few security items. Been a few breaches and ransomware and all the rest of it, but we'll get on with. We'll just talk about what Google's been doing in that space. Google Cloud unveils threat intelligence. Now you brought this to me, Dimmy, but Google Threat Intelligence stands out in the crowd. Threat intel spaced by combining insights from 3 massive data sources: Mandiant, VirusTotal, and Google, primarily Gmail, in a new AI-powered capability.
Yeah, I think it's a really big big achievement that Google was able to combine all these data sources. And the idea is to just analyze the data points from all those different sources and try and predict kind of where the threat is coming from and what to look for. Which is I think it's it's awesome that the initiative by itself, and more data sources you can add to this, it's better it will work. So having kind of this one central place, like given that this is like a 3 data sources together, Mandiant, VirusTotal, and Google, but I hope that as part of this threat intelligence, they also, develop the way to add more and more data sources in there. So as they will grow, then hopefully we'll just be more and more on front foot, I guess. And we'll be able to catch more threats before they kind of spread. Which this is probably the main thing. And again, AI should also help here as well, because given that amount of data, you can't really imagine that someone manually will analyze it. But I don't think that it's easy to just run some algorithm across all this data, given that it's from different data sources. So that's probably where AI can help as well. What
I find interesting is that they'll be able to effectively triangulate and correlate all those sources. And, if you've got multiple lines of evidence that correspond to the same thing, then there you go. You should know immediately where your threat is.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, I think that's the main thing, right? How can you predict? Otherwise, it's pretty much impossible, because you're always the second to the game, right? Because threat is happening first, and then we know about it, and then it's already too late. So I guess that might be a bit of a turnaround in the whole game.
Even if you're still second, but you're detecting it quicker, right? That's an improvement.
Yeah. Until it's spread.
Right?
Yeah. So we're basically talking about how many affected users are. So if you can prevent the spread, then you probably win. Yep. On that also, so Google Threat Intelligence can be licensed as a standalone offering, so you can just use it by itself. But it's also, of course, deeply integrated into the Google Security Operations platform, which was Chronicle Security Operations called before.
When did that change? Because that was news to me when I read this one. They've changed the name of that now. So it's a Google Security Operations platform now. Before it was Google Chronicle Security Operations. So it's just that there is no word Chronicle there anymore. Yep.
But I think another kind of thing to notice, and that's something that Google says that it actually takes time, because they kind of bought Mandiant in 2022, right? September 2022. So it's been like a year and a half, and this is the first kind of, I guess, big use of that acquisition, which kind of it's taking some time to figure out what is the best way and how to integrate.
What exactly are we going to do with this purchase? That's right.
Yeah,
I remember it was one of the very first things we covered on GCP Life, that purchase of Mandiant.
Yeah,
almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah, but no, I think it's going great, and security is a very big focus of any IT-related stuff nowadays, right?
Absolutely. And while we're on the subject, we've got a couple of breaches to report, unfortunately. Now, this one made the mainstream media. Electronic prescription provider MediSecure, the victim of large-scale data breach, personal health information at risk. Now, we don't have a lot of information on this at the moment. But what we do know is that Medisecure hadn't been used since November 15. They were going to be a government provider for medical scripts, but they got overlooked and didn't win that. So they haven't been in use since November 15, but they have been online for the patients to access existing documents. So at some point they were breached. We don't know exactly how or what data at this point. They've been pretty tight-lipped on it, but they're going to have to release some information because people have been affected by this.
Yeah, that's probably I don't know. The thing that I don't like, if you can like anything about any data breach, but yeah, there was no information on it really. There were like 2 press releases from Medisecure, and there was neither like number of affected people, what leaked, how that happened. Nothing really, which is found a bit strange.
Yeah, they've been a bit quiet. I'm just literally checking their public statement page at the moment. The last public statement on it was on the 18th of May, so they've not updated that since the weekend. So we could see something, an update on that by the time the next show comes out.
Yeah. And that page, I think there is a link to Home Affairs website. You go there and then there is a link back to Medisecure website. So it's...
Go round in circles.
Yeah, you go. Bit of a recursion there.
That's it. And not only Medisecure, but the federal government. Reported 14 ransomware attacks last year. So they had 14 last year and 3 in 2022. Now, a spreadsheet was obtained under Freedom of Information Act, and I'll link this article in the show notes. It's got the spreadsheet and everything there. It shows those ransomware attacks, and it also shows the breakdown of a bunch of other attacks, including 160 in total, which occurred due to human error. We've got to get better. We've got to get better at this, people. A further 70 were attributed to malicious or criminal attacks. 30 of these escalated to level 3 cyber incidents, and 17 blamed ransomware. They're the 17 I mentioned earlier. So even the federal government are not immune to this.
Yeah, that spreadsheet is actually very interesting. I was like, I spent like half an hour just going through it.
Most of it's redacted, but it's good to look at.
Yeah, but there is so many. I don't know. One of the examples is like Australian government, and then number of affected people is like 1,000 to 5,000, and the reason is like failure to use BCC when sending email, right? So, and you'd think why someone would send an email? Is it like a manually sending email to like 1,000 people? Surely it's supposed to be automated or something like that.
Yeah, well, they've just used CC and exposed everyone's email address.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it's interesting. There's so many like human errors. On those, though, on the ransomware, if you can, I was looking through, and like most of them are kind of local governments, and like number of affected people is like under 100, so it's like very small. There were like, I think, 3 or 4 big ones that were like in South Australia and Victoria governments, so the kind of like the biggest scale. The other thing is that there's so many cases of social engineering and impersonation, whereas like number of affected people could go quite high as well. It's pretty cool spreadsheet in terms of just give you a bit of insight.
Looking at this sheet, I'm just trying to find my level of confidence about the digital identity piece that we talked at the start with all the federal government leaks.
Well, you want to hope they do that with best practice, right? A lot of these would be older systems.
Yeah, and if you actually look at it, like Australian, but also like it's a 200. Is it how many? What's the number? the article mentioned. But I mean, it's not as big as I would think, to be honest. And it's like 4 years, right? I think it's like 2020 to 2024. So yeah, I actually I'm quite impressed.
Well, we're back in the top 5. So
yeah.
And while we're on the subject, and Dimmy, I think you snuck this in at the last minute here. First Mac, they're a home mortgage lender. They suffered a cyber attack and some customer data was leaked.
Yeah, that's right. And I knew about it because I got an email.
There you go.
Even though I don't have a mortgage with them for more than 3 years by now. But yeah, apparently my data was still there. Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That is terrible.
Yeah, it is.
You know what? That's probably some silly law where they've got to keep the data for 7 years or something along those lines, and here we are.
Yeah. So it's all kind of standard list, date of birth, bank account information, driver license numbers. Yeah, all of that stuff was leaked. I guess in contrast, right, to MediSecure, they kind of were quite more open and proactive about it. So they also like engaged all this IDK, National Security Cyber Support, and let everyone know the way they're supposed to. I don't know if I don't feel any better because of that.
No. So you've got, people now that are in multiple exposures. I mean, I was in the Optus and the Medicare one. You're in this one. It's just.
Yeah, I was in this one and Medibank one. Yeah, so I got 2 now.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Like, you put your data online, you give it to an organisation now, just assume it's gone. It's leaked.
Well, what does it mean? If I give my driver license, then I should straight away go and get a new one?
It's getting that way. Yeah. It's almost like that.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Shall we do it? We're going to wrap up the show. Let's get on with the AI wars.
Our favorite.
The AI Wars, our favourite part of the show, AI Wars. We've got a couple of good ones. We've got a few announcements from Google I.O. Gemini. Gemini's gone big. Gemini Pro 1.5 can now accept 2 million tokens. That's big news.
Yes, it is. And what I don't really, do you know why? So it's still called Gemini 1.5 Pro, right? But it's now it's 2 million tokens compared to before it was 1 million token. So they're not changing the version.
You can never keep up with Google's branding.
But what I'm asking you, how they compare all those different models every time something new happens. And then so you would see Gemini 1.5 Pro, but you wouldn't know if that was comparison when it had like 1 million token or 2 million tokens.
Yeah, but if they wanted to jump to like Gemini 2.0, the expectation would be they'd be training a new model.
Yeah.
Right? There'd be something new about a new data set or a new training method. There'd be something completely new about the way they would be doing it. But they haven't done that. They just kept the same LLM and just increased the token window.
Yeah.
That's all they've done.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
That's my reasoning anyway.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that came out. But an article we'll link in the show notes. Vertex AI as well. A bunch of new stuff in Vertex AI. We now have Gemini 1.5 Flash in public preview. Flash is a lightweight, lower latency version of Gemini 1.5. And where would you use this, Dimmy, you think?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it says that it's just much more cost effective, right?
I'm just thinking like smart devices and things like that, which probably doesn't need to have so much context and things like that.
Yeah.
Or even chatbots or things like that, which is, where you probably want speed over a lot of processing.
Right. You don't need such high accuracy, and you're not doing a lot of processing, but you do need speed, I suppose.
Mm. Yeah.
Along with that, we've got PaliGemma, which is now available in Vertex AI Model Garden, and it's the first version language model in the Gemma family of open models. And that's well suited for tasks like image captioning and visual question answering.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Haven't tried it.
Haven't tried it yet. And then your favourite, Dimmy, Imogen, coming soon, Imogen 3, highest quality text-to-image generation model. Gemma 2, open models built for a broad range of AI development use cases. And as we mentioned, Gemini 1.5 Pro now has 2 million context window, which, as far as I understand, you can feed 2 hours of video into that thing with 2 million context window.
Mm. Yeah.
So you can put a whole movie in there and ask it to write the, the foreword or the summary for it.
Mm.
Nice. Now, along with that, we also saw the launch of GPT-4o. Now, this is interesting. Let's first talk about GPT-4o. I don't know. What can we say about GPT-4o, Timmy?
Well, it's a new version of GPT-4, and it looks like this episode is actual AI wars, right?
This is actual AI wars, yeah.
And you can try it for free, I think.
You can try it for free. That's exactly what I was about to say. ChatGPT free users will now have access to features such as GPT-4 level intelligence, get responses from both the model and the web, analyze data and create charts, chat about photos you take, upload photos, discover and use GPT and GPT Store, and build more helpful experiences with memory. Now, I've not tried this yet. I'm kind of biased towards using Gemini.
Yeah, and I think, right, it's when it's saying for free, it's for users of GPT 3.5, so you still need a subscription, don't you?
No, so they've rolled it out, like, even if you don't have a GPT paid subscription, to select users, they've rolled out 4.0. So you can actually try it for free.
All right, so
but
it's got limited.
Yeah, it's got limited. You probably can make very few requests using
limited usage. Yeah, and it certainly doesn't have a 2 million token context window.
Here you go.
Certainly does not have that. But it's not all roses and sunshine. I'll link an article to a blog post where a website on BBomb, they've gone through and made some comparisons to ChatGPT 4o and Gemini 1.5 Pro. Very interesting. And they do a bunch of tests, including if it takes 1 hour to dry 15 towels under the sun, how long will it take to dry 20 towels? They ask these kind of logic questions to each of the LLMs to see if it can reason through the problem. And unfortunately, Gemini 1.0 just gave stupid answers after time. It really seems at the moment that GPT-4o is coming out on top. One of the telling ones was with the multimodal input. He uses an image that has a couple of red dots, a couple of purple dots, a blue squiggly line with a black line going through it, and asks simple questions like, how many red markers are there? GPT answers, there are 5 red marks, whereas Gemini answers there are 7, just randomly, but there are actually 5. And there are several other questions along that sort of line, and Gemini 1.5 Pro just gets them flat out wrong. Very interesting to take a look at. One of the one of the big things that Gemini has been promoting is its ability to work with code as well. And he gives it a snapshot, a screenshot of the game Arkanoid or Block Breaker. I know it as Arkanoid from the Commodore 64 days. And he says, I want to make a game like this, make it in Python. And ChatGPT 4o got it right. Produced some runnable code. And Gemini 1.5 Pro, the code wouldn't even run. It's full of errors and wouldn't even work. So, and his summary of it is that Gemini Pro 1.5 has a long way to go to catch GPT-4.
Somewhat not surprised, I would say, because GPT-4o is new, just been released in the past week. Gemini 1.5 Pro has been around for a while. It's like a typical iPhone and Samsung war, right? Like when iPhone is released, it's got the best specs. But when Samsung comes out, Samsung will have its best specs, best camera specs for a while until the iPhone is released. So
it's leapfrogs, right? Leapfrogs.
Yeah. So not surprised by those results at all.
Yeah, so we do need a Gemini 2.0. Can't wait.
Yep. Just think maybe next week.
Maybe next week. The rate we're going, it could be.
Yeah, so it's ready for the next episode, for the next episode of AI Wars.
That's it. Go and take a look at those. A bunch of new stuff there from Google, and it's going to be interesting to see what ChatGPT 4o does moving on. But I think we're done for this fortnight, guys. I think we're done. It's been fun as always. I'm seeing nearly an hour and a half here on the recording. Boys, this is going to be a bumper show. And Dimmy, it's been good. It's been short and brief, but it's been good.
Yeah.
And it's been fun to have you on the show.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, enjoyed every minute of it. And here you go, the last one. I'll see if you can break the record. Make sure you like and share my posts on LinkedIn, okay? Because that gets it around the place. Yes. Always.
And while we're on the subject, guys, don't forget to go to iTunes, write the show a review. It really helps the show out. You can contact the show, GCPLife at mantlegroup.com.au. And once you go and start the discussion on YouTube, we're publishing to YouTube there now. You can go and like that smash button and follow us there. And of course, don't forget, today's sponsor is Mantle Group. At Mantle Group, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. That's about it from me. I don't know. You guys got anything else to say? Jimmy, last departing words from you?
Well, yes, as I said, I really liked it. Google Cloud is the best. So, and this GCP Live podcast as well. I hope it will go, I don't know, till, what do you think, episode 500,000, something like that.
We'll be here for a while to get to 500.
Yeah, but looking forward to listen to the next episodes. And,
all right, thanks, mate. You've been a great asset to the show. And Adish, we'll catch you next week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dimmy. Thanks a lot, Dimmy, and very keen to get started.
Awesome, guys. We'll see you later. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
See ya.
And I realised that was a terrible segue because one is Firebase, the other one is Firestore. Completely different.
Yeah. Something with the naming. Which is actually, we had a meeting today. Someone was saying that, the VPC service controls. Yeah, and it's like, someone was saying that it's probably, it the person was from Google, saying it's probably the most terrible name for any services that you have in Google Cloud.
Because it's got nothing to do with VPC.
That's right, yeah, because it's a project API, right? API is bound to project, yeah, so it's not really, it's like a project API service controls rather than VPC service controls, yeah. But now I'm thinking about Firebase and Firestore and all this fire prefixes, yeah.
How not to get confused with Google Cloud.
Yeah, that's right. Even though I think, Google Cloud has a very good naming compared to other clouds.
Yeah.